Hey, this is Warren Redlick. I'm here with Bradford Ferguson of Rebellionaire.com. We're going to talk about Elon Musk's advice not to max out your 401k. I was surprised to see this. There's no explanation from Elon that I've seen so far. And I asked Bradford because this is his wheelhouse. This is something Bradford does. Bradford, could you tell the audience about Rebellionaire?
Yeah, Rebellionaire is for people who are all in. We agree to work with people and don't force them to diversify whatever their all in is. We look to protect their shares. We view shares as the real currency, not dollars. We create a financial plan, but also help them with doing cover calls, adding and trimming over time. Sometimes adding in some other companies that might do a little better over the short to intermediate term than their all in bet.
Could you contrast that with traditional wealth management?
Traditional wealth management, when an all-in Tesla person goes to a financial advisor, usually the financial advisor is going to laugh at them just as a reflex because of how uncomfortable they are looking at their statement, seeing all that Tesla or whatever it is. And then they'll say, well, if you're going to work with me, you need to diversify and sell at least half your Tesla, and then let's get on a schedule to sell the remainder of it.
Right. Or at least get down to like 5% of your portfolio is Tesla or
Yeah.
5%. And why is it that wealth managers take that approach? Traditional wealth managers.
It's less risky for them. Yeah, if a certain investment doesn't do well, they're not liable to be sued or the regulators go after them. But like ultimately, it's your money. And if you want to have your investments be a certain way, that's up to you.
My general sense is that because I majored in economics and I went to Stanford Business School's PhD program, and there's this concept of portfolio diversification and mean variance efficient portfolio,
Yeah.
this kind of thing. So I think in traditional finance, there's this idea that you're supposed to your portfolio management is having a diverse portfolio, and that this is somehow better than
Mhm.
going all in on a stock. Can you explain what the thinking is behind that traditional thinking and why Rebellionaire thinks differently?
Yeah, I think it's just hard in general to beat the market. If you take all the active managers, their portfolios, and then add a 1% fee, then by math, they're going to underperform the market. But there's just a risk. So, like, let's say you put all your money in Nikola, or ARC messed up, and whenever they sold Tesla, they would buy these companies that have no or very low hope of future profits. So it's a risk mitigating strategy, but like if you look at the billionaires, none of the billionaires became billionaires by being diversified.
Right. I actually say that about stock traders. All the people who are on Twitter and YouTube talking about all their stocks trading strategies, and I can't think of a billionaire who made his billions trading stocks on a
Yeah,
day trading. While
right.
Buffett did not day trade his way to his wealth, right?
Yeah,
And he
that's
didn't.
right.
He also didn't do it through mean variance efficient portfolios. He did it by concentrating on specific stocks, right? He
Yeah.
did a smaller basket of stocks than typical. So, okay. So we've got this tweet, and I'm going to read it. I'm going to put it on screen, but we have this tweet where Lauren says, should 20 somethings be maxing their 401ks? And Elon responds simply no. So, for people who don't know, I think most people know what a 401k is, but maybe there's people not American who are watching this. What's a 401k?
A 401k is a retirement plan that companies can have where employees can take a portion of their paycheck, a certain percentage, and put that in the 401k. Then the company can add a match where it's a benefit to the employee. So the company is helping the employee save for retirement over time and encouraging that. I'm not sure when it was born, but pensions have been on the decline. So that may have been something that came in as pensions started to go away. Essentially, in general, you save money on tax when the money goes in, but then you have to pay tax when the money comes out.
Right. And in the United States, we also have something called an individual retirement account, an IRA. And the traditional IRA is similar to the 401k. The money goes in tax free, the money gets taxed when it comes out. And
Mhm.
then there's something called a Roth IRA where you pay taxes before the money goes in and you don't pay taxes when the money comes out. So there's a lot of options for retirement accounts. But let's get to this. I mean, my understanding of the benefit of the maxing your 401k is if you expect to be lower income when you retire than when you're earning money, then investing in the 401k now, when you're in your 20s, when you're also at a, when you're, let's say you're at a high tax rate now, you invest in the 401k, the money grows tax free. And then when you retire, and in theory, you don't have a lot of income anymore, and you're drawing money out of the 401k, you're taxed at a lower rate because you're in a lower tax bracket. That's an advantage. And then so that's one issue. And the other issue is this concept of maxing. I think there may be a sort of maxing out as much as the employer will match, and maybe you can invest beyond the employer's match. So let's say the employer will match up to 5%. In other words, you put up to 5% of your income in the 401k, and the employer is going to match that. But maybe the idea is that you want to max that because you're doubling your money, but you don't want to go beyond the employer match. You think is that's my best guess as to what he meant, is that maybe you can contribute more than the employer's match? Do you have a sense of that?
Well, let me go to both your points real quick. So there's this assumption that you want your income's going to be lower when you retire. We've done over 1,000 financial plans, and people don't want to lower their lifestyle suddenly when they retire. And that's just our experience. And even if people move houses, like once they become empty nesters, they tend to pay more for a smaller house that has everything that they kind of like put off. Typically, the income can be high, the same or higher than what it was. So you're not necessarily in a lower tax bracket. We'll talk about maxing the match. I think what Elon is speaking to more is about this possibility that if you have a Roth account, so eventually, like you move money from a 401k to an IRA, and to an IRA to a Roth, and you can do this conversion thing. People who own Roths, they could say, well, because you're in that situation, you're wealthier than 90% of Americans, or maybe more, and they can target those accounts for taxation where they're tax free right now, or they could even target them for confiscation. I'm not on that train. I don't think it'll happen in the U.S., but it did happen in the UK, Great Britain. So you would think, that's not a dictatorship or anything, and they straight up charged a one-time tax to retirement accounts. I
Right.
think that may be what Elon's talking about, but I think in general, you lose a lot of flexibility with 401ks. Your investment options are very limited.
Right. It's like for me personally, a lot of my wealth, my Tesla, I'm basically an all-in investor in Tesla. A lot of my wealth is in IRAs, but I also have a substantial amount of money that's not in IRAs. And like I want to start up a business. You wouldn't be able to start up a business with money that's in an IRA, where if you have money that's not in an IRA, not in a 401k, it's, money that's in a regular brokerage account. Sure, you're paying taxes as you do things along the way, but having the freedom to say, I want to spend money on something, or I want to invest in my own business, or I want to put a down payment on a house. There's things that you can do with money that's not in a retirement account that's hard to do when it is in a retirement account.
Yeah. And say you're 30, if you're just plowing 100% of your savings into the 401k, you have all these financial goals that happen before you're 60. So you're saving for your kids' college, helping them with a car, or a down payment on the house, or just dealing with extra expenses you have as a household. I think you can create a situation where you're maxing the 401k, but then the first emergency you have, then like suddenly you're getting to this problem with credit card debt.
And if you draw money out of a 401k or an IRA early, then you pay taxes on it, and there's a 10% tax penalty.
There is, yeah.
So that's not good. You don't want to. Yeah. We're going to do another conversation on Bradford's channel, which is Rebellionaire. But before we do that, I'm just going to say, in some ways, I see this similar to buying a house. Like when you buy a house, it's a form of investing.
Hmm.
I'm not sure it's an efficient investment. Like I just sold a house, and I have a pile of cash, and I'm not buying another house. I'm going to rent, and I'm going to use money to invest in Tesla, because I think Tesla is a better long-term investment than buying a home, where traditional advice was buy a home. There are tax advantages to buying a home with a mortgage and everything. But I think in reality, as I look back on life, I'm not sure we did better by buying a home because we did well. Just to be clear, we basically doubled our home value, doubled from the time we bought it to the time we sold it. But I'm not sure that was better than had we, let's say, invested in Amazon when we bought the house, because I was buying Amazon stock when we bought the house, and then converting Amazon to Tesla. We would have made a lot more money if we had done that rather than put money into a house. What are your thoughts
Yeah.
on
Did you buy your house in 2016 or when was it?
2011, and then I started investing in Amazon in 2013?
Yeah, I think the market easily doubled since 2016. So like, you didn't do as well as the stock market.
Right.
Yeah, they talk about the home as an investment. We think it should just be viewed more as an expense, a place you stay, that kind of thing.
No, and I'm
Um,
moving to Japan and I'm going to rent, and people are like, oh, you should buy something. Housing can be cheap there. Like, yeah, but rent's cheap too. And I don't want to take my capital out of Tesla stock to buy a home in a country where real estate values are probably declining.
right.
Okay.
Well, with maxing out the 401k, it just limits your flexibility. You can't invest in individual stocks typically. I don't necessarily recommend this, but I've heard of people either getting fired from their jobs or being like temporarily let go so they can move their 401k into an IRA and then invest it how they want. And another thing is if it's all in 401k, you really can't manage your taxes in retirement. Whenever you need some money, you're gonna up your tax rate. So like, let's say you retire and you work part-time as a consultant, you have a big year, but for whatever reason you need money from your IRA, well, then your income's going to go up to an even higher tax bracket. So we like to have some flexibility where you have money in IRA, you got money in Roth, and you got money in a non-retirement account, which is typically called a brokerage account.
Okay, just really quick though, like in my mind, I have 2 kids. I'm hoping to have more. If my IRA passes to my children as beneficiaries, and it gets split up, and then they're living off the money later as inherited, they might be in a lower tax bracket when they're getting the money than I am. If I can keep the IRA mostly intact, you have to take some minimum distributions, of course. But if I can keep the IRA money mostly intact and my kids get it when I die, maybe there's a benefit there.
There's even a wrinkle there. So nowadays they're forcing, when you get an inherited IRA, they're forcing people to take it out within 10 years. So
Oh,
it
well,
it
I
used to
haven't.
be. Go ahead.
I just got an inherited IRA, and I don't think I'm getting forced to take it out that quickly. I am. There is a minimum distribution. It's not that bad.
Well,
I,
that changed with COVID. That's
I just look. I use Fidelity. I just look at Fidelity. But listen, we're
I
gonna.
could be wrong. I'm not a financial planner. I tend to stick my lane on the investment side, but
Okay, so
I, I
we're gonna continue this conversation on Bradford's channel, Rebellionaire. And while we're talking about heirs, I'm wearing the Teslanaire T-shirt, which you can buy at elonbits.com. But please check out Bradford's channel. I'll put a link in the description below. We're gonna have a longer conversation, more depth about this topic and more. What's your T-shirt?
I got the Optimist Love T-shirt. So
Very nice. All right. So thanks everybody so much for watching. Thank you, Bradford. And let's move on to your channel.
let's go.